power of thinking. Big
Everyone wants a better life. More money, more freedom, more respect. Everyone wants to feel like they matter. But most people stay exactly where they are, year after year. Not because they don't try, not because they don't dream, but because they keep waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for someone to help them. Waiting for life to finally be fair. They tell themselves, one day, things will change. But that day never comes, because they believe something quietly dangerous. If life changes first, then I will change. But what if it works the opposite way? What if nothing in your life changes until you change the way you see yourself? Daniel was 32 years old, not young enough to feel hopeful, not old enough to feel settled, just stuck. He lived in a small, worn-down apartment above a convenience store in a noisy part of the city. The walls were thin, the nights were loud, and his life felt exactly the same. Every morning he woke up without a plan. No schedule, no direction, just survival. He walked to the subway station and sat in the same corner every single day. Cardboard sign in front of him, anything helps. At first it was temporary, just until he found something better. But days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months, and slowly, temporary became permanent. People passed him every day, office workers in suits, students with headphones, tourists with cameras. Some dropped coins, most didn't even look. Daniel stopped looking too. He stopped expecting, stopped hoping. Because deep inside he had accepted something. This is who I am now. Sometimes late at night he would think about his past. He wasn't always like this. There was a time he had ideas, plans. He once wanted to start a small business. He once applied for jobs. He once believed he could build something. But every failure left a mark. Every rejection made him smaller. Until one day he stopped trying. Because trying and failing hurt more than not trying at all. So he chose the easier pain, doing nothing, and calling it reality. One cold afternoon, a man stopped in front of him. Not like the others. He didn't rush. He didn't avoid eye contact. He just stood there, calm, observing. Daniel raised his hand slightly. Anything helps. But the man didn't reach for his wallet. Instead he asked, "Why should anyone give you anything?" The question hit harder than expected. Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" "I mean," the man said, "what do you offer in return?" Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. I have nothing." The man didn't argue. He simply pointed across the street. There was a small coffee shop. People lined up outside. "They don't ask for money," the man said. "They offer something. And people pay." He paused, then looked directly into Daniel's eyes. "Life is a marketplace, not a charity." Silence. Then, one final sentence. "If you bring value, you will never need to beg." And just like that, the man walked away. Daniel sat there long after the man left. The world kept moving, but inside him, something had stopped. Those words repeated in his mind. "Life is a marketplace. If you bring value." "But I don't have value," he whispered. That night he couldn't sleep. Not because of noise, but because for the first time in months he was thinking. Really thinking. What if I'm not stuck, but just not offering anything? It was a painful thought, because it meant maybe it wasn't the world, maybe it was him. The next morning he did something different. Not big, not dramatic, just different. He looked at his cardboard sign. Then slowly, he flipped it over, took a marker, and wrote something new. "Tell me one good thing about your day." It felt strange, almost embarrassing. People walked past him. Some ignored it, some looked confused. But then, a woman stopped. She hesitated, then said, "My daughter called me this morning." Daniel nodded. "That sounds important." Her expression softened. She smiled. And then, she gave him money. But it felt different. Not like charity, like exchange. The next day he added something else, a small notebook. When people shared, he wrote it down. At first it was simple, short sentences, small moments. Got a new job, feeling better today, made my first sale. But as days passed, the stories became deeper. People opened up. They talked about fears, about hope, about things they never said out loud. Daniel didn't interrupt, he just listened. And that alone became valuable. Something inside him began to change. He wasn't just sitting anymore, he was engaging, observing, learning people. He noticed patterns. What made people smile? What made them pause? What made them feel seen? For the first time in a long time, he felt useful. Not because someone gave him money, but because he gave something first: attention. And attention is one of the rarest things in the world. Weeks passed, then months. Daniel improved little by little. He cleaned his appearance. He stood instead of sitting. He spoke more clearly. One regular commuter said, "You should share these stories online." Daniel didn't know how, but he learned. Slowly, step by step, he borrowed a phone, created a simple page, posted one story a day. No editing, no strategy, just honesty. And something unexpected happened. People connected. They followed. They shared. Because the stories were real. And real is rare. One day a message came in. "Can you come speak at our community event?" Daniel stared at the screen. He thought it was a mistake. "Me, yes," they replied. "You remind people that their lives matter." That night, Daniel stood on a small stage. Lights above him. People in front of him. He felt nervous. But he also felt something else. Clarity. He didn't need to pretend. He just told the truth. "I used to believe I had nothing to offer." The room went quiet. And for the first time, people weren't walking past him. They were listening. That night changed everything. Not because he became famous, not because he made a lot of money, but because he saw himself differently. He was never just a beggar. He was someone who had something to give. He just didn't see it before. And that realization was more powerful than any opportunity. This is what most people never understand. You don't receive first. You give first. You don't wait to become valuable. You act valuable. You don't wait for confidence. You build it through action. Small actions. Repeated daily. Daniel didn't change his life overnight. He changed his behavior, then his mindset, then his identity. And only then, his life followed. If you believe you have nothing, you will keep living like you have nothing. But if you decide today to give something, your time, your effort, your attention, your life will begin to shift. Because the world doesn't reward need, it rewards value. And the moment you understand that, everything changes. So tonight, ask yourself one question: what can I give? Starting now. Because when your mindset changes, your life will change too.